Here we are.
Yeah, welcome back.
All right, welcome back, Dr. Proctor. Do apologize for that.
Oh, that's okay. That's
Zoom
okay.
is one of those things.
Yep. We'll just carry on from where we were, I think.
Okay, I just so where we left off, where we got cut off. I wanted to make a note that I found it interesting. What some New Yorkers did a couple of weeks ago, where a large group gathered together, and they went in front of Cuomo's house, Governor Cuomo's house, and protested in front of his house. I think that was
Good.
beautiful. And then most recently, I believe there was a restaurant owner in New York that he was fined. He was dragged out of his own establishment and trespassed. And people are like really starting to understand that, when they see police officers, dragging people out of their own businesses, I think that people are starting to wake up. But I think more of that needs to happen. But I think that's probably one of the ways we can start affecting change.
Yes. Are we on now? Are we being taped now?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, good. Then let me mention something that's going on in California.
Okay.
There is a restaurant owner in California. Pretty good, pretty large restaurant. He refuses to require masks.
Yes.
He tells people to take them off.
Yes.
He refuses to close down.
Yes.
He refuses everything. And they're mad at him. And they kept saying, we're going to get you. Go ahead. Come on. Do it. Do it.
Yep.
And he doesn't pay any attention. And they leave him alone because he's so firm. Because he knows that the federal statute and the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence don't give them the authority to do what they're doing.
Absolutely.
He knows it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anybody want to write these down? These are very important items. You need to know these items. Title 18,
Yep.
Section 242, and Title 42, Section 1983. Those two U.S. code, they're federal code, okay? They're about color of law. Now, people don't understand what color of law means.
Right.
Color of law means it's law that's fake,
Yep.
okay? It means law that's fake.
Yeah.
People have taken authority they don't have, so it's called fake law, color of law. Color of law, it says in both those sections, any government official, the word any works out. It doesn't say it quite this way, I'm paraphrasing, because it's all these legal jargon.
Right.
Any government official that in any way trumps on any of our constitutional Declaration of Independent rights can be taken to court, jailed, and fined.
Yep.
Depending on how severe it is, when you look in Title 18, depending on how severe it is, he can be jailed for life, or he can receive capital punishment, which means he can be killed, executed. Now, I don't think anybody will do that, but that's the importance that the federal government put on that section. You stop trouncing on the people's rights. It was passed in like 1948.
Right.
Don't trounce on people's rights. And that's the authority is in that law. Not only does it say you can't do it, it lists the punishments that will be leveled based on the severity of what they do. And the section 1983 in Title 42 is a significant history of how this color of law stuff has been going, what's been happening, what the attorneys should do, what the Supreme Court did, what they did, it goes all the way through. But at the end it says, do it. 1983 says, do it. Take these people to court.
Right.
Now, I don't know this is a fact, but I've been told that there are 12 government officials in California behind bars.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true, but I've been told that. I think it's great if they are. I think it's great.
Absolutely. I agree.
We got some people in Utah that want to be there too.
Come to Massachusetts.
So, Dr. Proctor, so what is the purpose? As I know you say it's fake law, but why would they establish this colorable law?
I don't understand. Why did it was established because the federal government didn't want states trouncing on people's rights. Is that what you mean?
No, the fact that they prance upon committing these made-up laws. Why did they take that route of colorable than trumping over the Constitution?
Oh, why did they do it?
Yes.
All right. Well, now that's a really good thought. Again, I'm going to go back to my Liberty series. I wrote 6 volumes on this very subject you just asked me the question of. So I'm going to summarize it. There are some people in our world that we pay money to we pay somewhere near $1.5 trillion to every year through our banking system and our national debt. It could get up to $2 trillion in dollars, in wealth, every year to these people. And it goes through the Federal Reserve, through the banks that own the Federal Reserve, through the banks that own those banks, to the financiers of Europe. Those people dictate what's supposed to happen in our government. And how do they do it? They pay the governors, lieutenant governors, the senators, the legislators, they pay them off. Or if they don't do it right, they pay groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter and pay them to riot and kill and steal and plunder. They pay them to do that. It's all set up. Soros is one of those guys. He spends millions and millions of dollars, which, by the way, that's just a pimple on his money. But he spends millions and millions of dollars to get people to riot in our streets. That's what's going on. That's why they do it, because they can get a lot of money. Here's an illustration. Have you ever noticed that people will be on a shoestring to get their get elected in Congress? They'll be on a shoestring to get that done. Have you ever noticed that? And when they're in Congress, and they're there for a few years, and they get out of Congress, whoops, we've got something here we're going to have to change a little bit here. Okay?
Right.
When they get out of Congress, they happen to be millionaires. What happened while they were in Congress that took them from just barely able to have enough to get elected to millionaires with houses grandioso anywhere they wanted them? Why? How does that happen? Where did the money come from? It's true money. Where did it come from? You know Nancy Pelosi?
Yes.
That so-called lady in the House? Okay, so-called is the right term. That young lady will retire from the federal government with an annual income from us of over $800,000 a year.
Wow.
Isn't she worth $100 million?
Well, I don't know if she's worth that much, but $800,000 a year is a big hunk of change.
Yeah, pretty hefty. Pretty hefty.
And she may be worth that much because that's just the income she's going to get after she retires. How much money has she been paid over the years to do the things she's doing?
Oh, wow. And she's been there a long time.
She could have $100 million. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know, because the information's public. I do know that the retirement she'll draw is in excess of $800,000 a year.
Wow.
How much does everybody make in the country?
Not that.
30 or
Not that.
40,000,
Yeah.
50,000, 60,000?
Wow.
Average, yeah.
800 for doing the darndest she can do to destroy our country?
Wow.
We're
That's
still going to give her $800,000 a year.
Wow.
And all those homeless people will still be homeless.
Yep, they will be.
Yeah. There's,
And she'll have a big fence and a guard to keep all of them out.
yeah, it's interesting you said that. I seen where Maxine Waters lives, and then I seen the district she's supposed to represent, and it's disgusting. It's
They're not the
absolutely.
same, huh?
Oh
They're
man,
not
night and day difference,
Not
to say
the
the
same.
least.
Okay, well, you see, that's what's going on. All of these people are receiving money from the power that Soros is a part of.
Right, right.
Yes.
And that's why they do what they do. They're not dummies. That's why they do what they do.
Yeah.
They make mistakes. Here's a decision. Supreme Court just gave a decision about 2 months ago.
Right.
I don't remember if it was unanimous or what, but the Supreme Court gave this decision. Governor Newsom, it's constitutional for you to close all the churches.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember this. Mm-hmm.
He did. They did, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they dumb? Are they stupid? Don't they know that the First Amendment doesn't allow them to do that? Yes, they do. But do they not care? No. Why? Somebody's paying them off in the background or threatening them, one or the other.
Right, right.
Do you guys remember Perot when he ran for president many years ago?
Yes, I do. I do.
Ross
very much.
Perot, yeah.
Okay, I watched it. I was paying attention and voting in those days. Okay, anyway, so he was way out in front. He had like the polls gave him 30-40% of the he was a shoo-in.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden one day he said, I'm going to withdraw my candidacy from the presidency for the good of my family.
Mm-hmm.
30 or 40 days later, he came back in and he had a paltry 3% or some number like that.
Yeah.
Why did he do that?
I probably threatened. I don't know.
He
Yes,
did
he
it.
did.
The question, why did he do that? He was on his way to get the presidency. Why did he do that?
That's right.
Ponder why he did that.
Backdoor deal.
I'd like to mention something in a book called The Captains and Kings. Taylor Caldwell wrote that book. Very interesting book. And they made a movie of it. In the end of that movie, there's a guy, the son of one of the bigwigs, and I mean international banking establishment. He went against them. He was running for president or some office like that, and he was ready to get the office, and he wouldn't stop. They shot him.
Huh.
They shot him. They shot Kennedy. They shot Lincoln. Are you getting the feeling here?
Yeah.
They shoot him.
He went up against the powers that be, and I guess Ross Perot didn't want the same outcome.
Didn't want that outlet.
Yeah.
That outlet. Now, I'm going to give President Trump the absolute benefit of the doubt. I know he's under pressures that I have no concept of.
Right.
I have ideas what I would do if I were there, but I don't know what he's faced with.
Right.
It could be that he's being told in the background by a group of people with all this money, and they want him out of there, that if you don't concede this election to Joe Biden, we're going to take you and your family, all the members of your family. We're going to take them into a cement room, and we're going to torture them and beat them to death and chop them up in front of you, and then we're going to kill you.
That's very real.
What would you do? You wouldn't want to
Very
face
possible.
that. And he knows they have the power to do it.
Yeah, very possible. Very possible.
So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He's not a dummy. He's doing the best he can for us. If we are we doing the best we can for him? I don't know. But he's got pressures we don't even know about. So let's not chop him to pieces because he doesn't do anything about our pet thing or our this or our that.
Right. Yeah, I
He's
think.
got other things that he's faced with that you and I aren't faced with.
Right. And I think people don't seem to forget that little part of history. It's like the moment, what I like to term as leaders that actually stand up for the people, stand up, they always seem to disappear. You look at Kennedy,
Yes.
look at Lincoln. They tried it with Reagan. I mean, I was a young man. I was a young boy at the time, but I remember, seeing the guy walk up on TV and shoot him. I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that the president? Like, how did
Yeah, that's right.
So you don't get that kind of access unless people are in it in conspiracy to get it done. So,
And these guys have enough money that they could buy off anybody.
correct.
I mean, let's say that they want one of the security guards, president's security detail. They want one of those guys. And they pull one aside and said, here's $100 million. All you got to do is step aside and allow us to do what we want to do.
Right. That's all it takes.
Cash, $100 million.
Yeah. And it's untraceable. No one would know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Untraceable. No one will know. It's all done. These guys know how to do that kind of stuff. So we are not living in an easy world.
Correct.
We like to think we're living in an easy world. We're not.
Correct.
Have you ever read the book Shogun?
No.
That's the Japanese. It's about Japan.
Oh no. I know what you're talking about.
One of the 5 regents wouldn't go along with the other ones, and they needed unanimous. So they took him and his family and did exactly what I just outlined to him and his family in front of him. And that's fiction, but that's kind of stuff that goes on.
Do you think people like I'm not claiming either side here. Do you think people like Trump or anybody in his position, is he playing a deadly game between rocking the fences between both sides to cater both people to not be harmed?
You don't know. We don't know. I don't know. You're asking a question here that we just have to suppose.
Right.
I gauge that by what happens.
Right.
Let's just say, rather than say Trump, let's just say Reagan, for example.
Right.
A good guy Reagan was, okay? Let's say he's going to be faced with the same powers. These people have been around since way before 1776.
Correct.
Anyway, he'd be faced with the same one. If he comes out and does something, you remember, take down that wall, right?
Right. Right.
Okay?
Yep.
Why did he do that? And why did it work? And why did it happen so quickly, right like that time, at that moment? Those people in Western Germany had been trying, Eastern Germany had been trying to do that for years.
Right.
Nothing happened. All of a sudden, he said that and the wall came down.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, put that together. How can that possibly be? Unless he was told to say that because the guys were going to do it. And so he was going to get credit for saying it.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but that's an issue, you see?
Yeah.
Since when does the Communist Party step aside? They got all those police. They take people into cement rooms in the basement and work them over.
Right.
Okay? They've always done that.
Right.
Yes.
That's where we're headed if we don't do something about it, by the way.
Oh yeah, I agree.
This situation is not foreign to most of the world. It's foreign to us, but it is not foreign to the rest of the world. So don't treat these people so badly because they don't do your pet goal.
Right. Right. I think that's.
Reagan. Trump wanted very hard to get 501c3 set aside for churches.
Yeah.
It's not right.
Right.
That 501c3 gags all churches.
Yes.
He wanted to stop it. Ministers in churches don't have the freedom of expression you and I do.
Nope.
So they met with him and he promised them that he'd do away with 501c3.
See.
But you see, it's a law.
Right.
Johnson was the culprit, got it passed in 56. It's a law on the law books.
Wow.
You can't supersede that with an executive order. And Congress won't revoke it.
Wow.
Speaking of executive orders, when people hear that, why does it seem like, well, this must be the end all be all? This is the executive order from this person. You have to follow it. But they don't seem to care about the Constitution.
Here's Article 1, Paragraph 1, Section 1, 1111. It says, all legislative powers, that means laws, herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which is a House of Representatives and the Senate. What that says is no laws are passed in this country except federal laws. No laws are passed in this country except by the legislature, period. Executive orders aren't laws. Decisions aren't laws. Regulations by the BLM, they're not laws.
Right.
Regulations by all these people, they're not laws. They want to think they are, and they try to penalize them for it. They do fine us, but they're not laws. That's color of law, and we need to stop it.
Agreed.
They're not laws.
Agreed.
They're not laws.
Agreed.
But we've given in to this stuff for so long, we just complain about it in the back room.
Yes.
We're not trying to get our country back. That's why I said, get rid of the people that are DNRs and get a constitutional party people in there, because mostly those people want what we want.
Right.
They want to have constitutional principles.
Right.
And they can't seem to get off the dime because everybody says they want constitutional principles, but they won't join with the organization that's trying to do it.
Right.
They
Right.
stay with the DNR.
Right.
Have you ever heard the phrase, doing the same thing over and over again, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is the height of insanity.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
In other words, if you elect the same people to Congress every year and you expect them to differ, that's the height of insanity.
Absolutely.
If you elect the Democrats and Republicans to office and expect them to do different than they're doing, that's the height of insanity.
So this whole country's under cognitive dissonance, then you would say.
90% of all incumbents get reelected.
Yeah, that's true.
We sit here with a 11% approval of Congress, and 90% of them are reelected. How can that be?
Yeah.
it's always somebody else. It's not my guy. It's those guys. It's those guys.
Right.
It's not my guy. My guy is doing it right. Those guys aren't. So I elect my guy, and they all do that.
Right. Opposite side of the same coin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another reason, another reason they get reelected is because we pay attention to sound bites rather than history.
Right. What I've been telling a lot of people, the Trump haters, what I would say to them is, are you going off of rhetoric or are you reading any legislations? Like, what have you actually read? Because Biden's been there for 47 years, so you can read a whole lot about him, but what have you read that he's done before you make any edited, because majority of their comments is edited related. So they've never heard the whole entire quote. Everything is based on the soundbite that was edited for their agenda. So whenever I get them on those questions, I stump them. And as we know, silence is acquiescence at that point. So
I'm going to ask you a question, Sandy. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Have you stopped beating your wife? Yes or no? That's what they do to the politicians.
Right.
Just exactly that.
I take the fifth.
If you say, yes, I've stopped, that means you used to. If you say no, that means you still are. You have no choice. It's wrong both ways.
How about if I take the fifth?
Yeah, you can do that, right? But you see, that's what these people do to politicians.
Right.
They ask them questions that they cannot answer. Either way, it's wrong.
Right.
And they do it on purpose. They're wordsmiths. Attorneys know how to make you think white as black.
Yes. You know, I had an attorney make a comment to a judge. He said, "Judge, this man over here is citing a law from 1935." So the judge kind of smirked. So I looked at them both and I said, "Well, wasn't the Constitution in 1776?" And the judge laughed and looked at him and said, "Well, what do you got to say to that?" And then the lawyer just sat down. So it was beautiful.
You know, we're not getting off the subject of the Constitution. We're talking about government. But we're not off the subject of the Constitution because, guys, if we use the Constitution as we're supposed to use it,
right,
we wouldn't have this conflict about the presidency today.
Correct.
Yes.
It would not exist.
Correct.
It wouldn't be there. And we would never have had Obama elected. And
That's
we would
true.
have never had the Clintons and the Carters and all of these people that have destroyed our country. Never, ever had them.
You know what I find interesting is the Constitution is specific about who can run and who can't run. How did this even? I can't. I was trying to look back earlier on when was a time that we had people that were legitimately not qualified as far as being citizens. How did Kamala get? I mean, Obama is one thing. Now Kamala is even more obvious. So it's like, how does this even happen? It goes over people's head to this degree where we have to actually worry about her being president or vice president even.
You know, she was such a bad part of the Democratic Party that they wouldn't even let her be a part of the debates from the beginning.
Correct.
They kicked her out.
Correct.
Now they're cheering how important she is.
Right.
She claims she's a citizen because she was born in San Francisco. And she was.
Mm.
But
Okay.
is she a citizen because she was born in San Francisco?
No, because her parents
Not
weren't.
necessarily.
Wait.
Everybody thinks so. That's what anchor babies are, aren't they? Aren't anchor babies people that mothers that came across the border to have their child here in the United States?
Right.
So that they would be
Naturalized.
just a minute. So that they would be citizens of this country.
Right.
Isn't that what they do?
And does this tie in?
And don't we give them citizenship?
So does this tie into the 13th and 14th Amendment?
14th Amendment, paragraph 1 of section 1. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
14th Amendment. All persons born are citizens of the United States. No, that's not what it says. That's what we think it says. That's not what it says. It says all persons born or naturalized in the United States. And you hear the word "and" there. A-N-D means there's some more coming.
Right.
And are subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Are citizens of the United States.
Okay.
Well, here comes a baby. He's just this big, 21 inches long and cries. What's the jurisdiction of that child?
Huh.
The parent's jurisdiction.
Correct. Right.
Yes.
Right.
The parent's jurisdiction. That's what that says. So Kamala Harris was born in San Francisco of parents who were citizens, I believe, Jamaica and India.
Correct.
Yes. Correct.
So she's a citizen of Jamaica and India, not our country. And she's never been naturalized.
Right. That's part. Yeah.
See, there you have it. It's very clear. It's very easy. In fact, this is how you could say it. Anybody born in the world who has a citizen, one of their parents is a citizen of the United States, is a natural born citizen. You can say that. But the world includes Washington, D.C. and Idaho and everywhere else, doesn't it?
Right.
It includes everywhere. So you don't stop at the border. So if a child is born in Washington, D.C., in the halls of Congress, and one of her parents is a citizen and the other is not, she's a natural born citizen, or he is. If neither are, she's not a citizen. Even though she was born in the halls of justice of Washington, D.C., she's not a citizen.
Oh.
It's that simple.
Wow.
And people are still having trouble getting over it. It's right here in the 14th Amendment, very clear. Very clear, it's not hidden.
The punctuations make a huge difference, and the ands, the buts, those make a huge
Yeah, the
difference.
ors and the ands, yes.
Yeah.
Exceptions, commas, oh yes. They're very, very important. Anytime you see an or, that means something else is coming along. Anytime you see an and, that means something else is coming along.
I think that because one of the things that I think is important is the fact that is what I noticed over the last, I'd say probably decade, was the huge change in the education system, because I'm starting to realize when I was coaching that a lot of students couldn't form sentences, didn't understand what a comma meant, semicolons,
Yes.
I mean, just the simplest English 101. And if you don't, and then cursive was eliminated. They stopped teaching cursive. And it's like, if you don't have these basic understandings of how to read and comprehend and what punctuations mean, then you will never even look at the Constitution, because it would confuse you.
Couldn't read it, could you?
No, you couldn't.
Don't have an idea about it.
No.
But they can get on their telephones,
Oh, yeah.
and they can diddle speed of lightning
Right.
and communicate.
Right.
But they can't pick up a book and read it because they haven't been taught.
Absolutely.
So I wrote this book in such a way that even those people could pick up a book and read it and know what it says.
And that's one of the things I wanted to also mention, because my son being just turned 11, and he started asking me for the last year and a half about the Constitution and why do I always go to hearings, and why do I go to places and talk and tell people, hand out flyers, and I was trying to find the best way, how can I explain it to him that he would understand. And just reading the simplicity, I would have to go along with him as he read it, but the more I understand, the more I can teach him. And that's the beauty of your book. That's what I want the audience to realize about the importance of saving the Constitution.
But I wrote the book, Keep the Constitution If You Can Keep It, and Saving the Constitution, using the lectures that I gave to 12 to 18-year-old students.
Oh, okay.
In homeschooling.
Oh.
I kept the lectures, and it was that's the basis of the book, Saving the Constitution and the Constitution If You Can Keep It. I taught homeschooling for a year to a group of 30 students, for a year. Every month I was there, twice every month I was there for an hour and a half scheduled, and I taught the Constitution and economics. And I used those notes to write those two books.
Excellent.
That's powerful. That's very powerful. So, Doctor, how can we understand a little bit more about how to fight back and, learn how to deal with congressmen and our local mayors, and try to figure out what jurisdiction we're in the courts, at least? Because I know technically a lot of courts that we have now, they're these traffic courts. So how do we distinguish between the type of course that we go to?
Well, that's an interesting question. Maritime law and admiralty law is, as we read in the Article 3rd, was the jurisdiction, was the first jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. It's very clear. It says, Article 3 says that the judicial power shall reside with the admiralty and maritime jurisdiction. And down here a little below, it talks about maritime and admiralty law jurisdiction, down in paragraph 2. So the Supreme Court shall have jurisdiction in all cases mentioned above. And that means admiralty law and maritime law. What is admiralty law and maritime law? It's right there in the Constitution as a Supreme Court original jurisdiction, not a state court original jurisdiction, Supreme Court original jurisdiction. What are maritime laws and admiralty laws? What does that mean? Well, you get the idea of it when you think about it's admiralty and maritime.
Sea.
That means high seas on the ships.
Right.
The ships on the oceans. That's what that means. Ships on the big Great Lakes. That's what that means. So mostly ships on the ocean. So let's focus on that. And let's focus in 1776 when this book was written. What did the boats look like in 1776 when this was written?
Sail ships.
Massive ships, sail ships.
Big sail ships, right? With masts that went up 100 feet, 200 feet, or whatever it was. And spars that went out there that the guys had to climb up on and go out on those eeny ropes and furl and unfurl sails. And if they didn't go up there, the ship might sink.
Wow.
That's the condition that this was written in.
Wow.
Bad storm, ice, all that kind of stuff. And they got to climb up that thing and it's rocking back and forth. Why, 1 minute they're looking on the right side of the boat on the ocean, and the next side they're looking on the left side of the boat in the ocean. This is what goes on in those kind of storms. The captain says, "Get up there, Seaman, and do that." He says, "No, I ain't gonna." He says, "Yes, you are." "No, I won't." Throws him in the brig, doesn't he?
Yep.
Okay, now what do we see here? We see here an order violated. We see a judge. We see a jury. And we see a punishment. All in the captain.
Right. I see what you're saying.
He has to have that authority. Yeah. That's what maritime and admiralty law is. Now, when you go to a court, and the judge is there, and there's no jury, there's just you and the judge and a couple of attorneys, and she bangs the gavel and says you're in jail for 30 days. That's the same as the captain of a ship.
Same exact thing, yeah.
That's admiralty law. Yeah. If we want to have real law for us, we go to the 7th Amendment. And the 7th Amendment says, in suits at common law,